Men who guide the destinies of the world wear Rolex watches. If you were speaking here tomorrow, you'd wear a Rolex. Rolex Daydate, the president's watch on the president's bracelet. This is the watch that presidents wear. But it's not. And that's what I want to talk about. The Rolex Daydate is an iconic watch, and it sits at the uppermost price points in the Rolex hierarchy, at least, from an MSRP perspective. It's an immaculately produced watch in the 36 or 40 millimeter white gold, ever rose or platinum versions. You've got fluted bezel, you've got day and date function, and what I think really makes this watch the president bracelet. This is the AMG version of the S-Class or the iPhone 14 Pro Max to the regular iPhone. It's mad expensive, it weighs like a brick, and it just looks stunning. For the price and the power it conveys, you'd be mad as a power broker not to wear it. Everybody will tell you that this is the watch that the American presidents supposedly wore, Lyndon B. Johnson, but in reality it's not the case anymore. Which brings me to the question, why not? And what should a president or prime minister be wearing if they were into watches? Tell me in the comments what a president or prime minister from your country should be wearing if they were a watch enthusiast. Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe also while you're at it if you're enjoying the video. If we look at recent presidents, we see almost no day dates. In the US, going back to Bill Clinton, you won't see a day date. Bill Clinton is and was an avid watch collector, the owner of a Lange Gang Reserve, a Jules Audemars Chrono, and a Vulcain Cricket, and probably many more. This man has and has had some serious watch game. George Bush Jr. owns a Patek Philippe 3940 and a Patek 3445. Obama, Rolex Cellini. Trump is the first one on the list to own a Daydate, a 18038. He also has a Vacheron Constantin Historique and a Patek Philippe Golden Ellipse and probably some others. All gold, all probably purchased a while back, but overall some serious watch game. Biden, Seamaster, Speedy, Datejust. But here's the twist. Bill Clinton didn't wear all those expensive watches that much in public while he was president. He wore a Shinola. George Bush did neither. He wore Timex. Obama wore a gifted Your Grace Secret Service Quartz watch. And Biden, he wears an Apple Watch, often. The thing is that powerful leaders, at least in democratic countries, are elected officials. And for many years, the prevailing wisdom has been that wearing a hugely expensive watch is not compatible in sending an image of approachability, of understanding the plight of the regular Joe, and being in touch with the electorate. It's not just the Americans. If you look at Emmanuel Macron from France, this is a man that is a wealthy man, but he wears an LM01. Shinzo Abe, the former PM of Japan, well, it wasn't a cheap watch, but it was a Grand Seiko, and that was a Japanese watch. Who are the people then that wear these expensive watches? Well, it's Vladimir Putin that has $60,000 Breguets, Pateks and Langes. It's the Sultan of Brunei that wears a Richard Mille, and the Emir of Qatar who has a Daydate. The list goes on, but the point is this. There is a plausible connection between the public persona of an elected politician that entails excluding certain types of watches from your wardrobe. You don't want to look too rich or too out of touch. I think we can conclude that the Rolex Daydate is just not an elected politician's watch anymore. It's that simple. So that brings me to the second question. If you're a watch enthusiast, what do? You should definitely consider a product produced in your home country, ideally wholly produced. If you're German, Swiss, or French head of state, you're spoiled for options, but many countries, turns out, have indie and local watch brands that can cater to your needs. Second, I think you need to consider your personality and your public perception. If you're a former US Marine or Navy SEAL, go for a dive watch or a tactical watch. But if you're a former scientist or researcher, I think an engineering watch or a more dressy watch would be worth consideration. Also, I think less is more. You need to keep it simple. You're, after all, going to be in some version of formal attire no matter what all the time. So a watch that fits that purpose is going to be necessary. With that said, here are some options that a president or prime minister could wear based on the locations of my 5 largest geographic audiences. For the United States, the Vice 38mm standard issue field watch. It's an in-house American dressy and casual watch. You've also got the RGM Model 250V with the sector dial. That's an old school and sexy watch. Finally, for the Americans, just like we have in-house movements that are not really in-house, then I'm going for something that has an American connection but isn't quite anymore, and that is Hamilton and the Hamilton Murph. The Murph is a real watch nerd kind of watch. It has tons of street cred at an affordable price, and it will fit perfectly into a presidential wardrobe. As you can tell, I went for some decidedly old school watches with a twist, But I don't know, they're cool, and specifically I like the fact that most of them are from semi-indie small business watchmakers, which to me speaks to the entrepreneurial spirit of the United States. Second on my list is the United Kingdom, also thanks to you guys for watching my channel. Everything these days is owned by a conglomerate, but Bremont in that context is absolutely worth a look. The Supernova is maybe a little bit royal oaky for the watch community because of the bracelet, but it's a very nice watch. The H1 Fury also has a lot going for it. Again, stretching the definitions of what is British, I would be going for an IWC Pilot Mark 20 or even better, the Spitfire. They are slightly more expensive watches, but there's the RAF connection, the military heritage, and it's not blingy in any way. This is currently, in my opinion, by the way, the best steel bracelet luxury watch out there at the moment in the IWC Pilot Mark 20. It's absolutely gorgeous with an incredible movement and a super interesting heritage. If you want to go a completely different direction, I'd say CWC watches and the G10 Boy. It's simple, it's cheap, it's good looking, it's stylable with a lot of history. So I might have gone a little bit overboard with, the Winston Churchill type watches here, but the military inspiration is just what I think these watches would break a mold of what you would expect of a UK Prime Minister. In terms of options, I really wished France would have been higher up on the list because I don't know a whole ton about Australian watchmaking scene. Except it turns out that there was one brand that I actually know and I embarrassingly never realized it was Australian. And that's Melbourne Watch Company. Yeah, I know. The watch I like, the Portsea Calendar Navy. I mean, you all arrive by boat, so clearly your PM's watch has to be maritime inspired. What else do I know about Australia? Well, Archie Luxury, Great White Sharks, Kangaroos, and the Outback. You get to buy an Oris Big Crown pointer date in bronze for your PM. I don't know who the guy or woman is at the moment, but this is a watch that will patina over time, making it look less luxury and totally look the part in the Outback. Those colors just fit so well. In fourth place, my viewers from Germany. Guten Tag. Buy a Sinn or a Nomos. I know you can choose the Langers and the Glashütters, but I'm not going to let you do that. You have to go for a more affordable watch. And a Sinn 556 would be my go-to choice, or possibly the 903 STBE. This is Sinn's Navitimer at a fraction of the Breitling's price. There's a super interesting story behind how Sinn got a hold of the rights to use the design back from when Breitling wasn't doing all that great. It's an amazing watch. As for the 556, it's a simple tool watch aesthetic which is understated enough to work with a suit. For more personality, the 903 is my personal favorite in their line because of a super off-white dial with what I think is a perfectly balanced chronograph dial. Bonjour to France. You're apparently my fifth most popular viewing audience, which is a bit of a surprise, but thank you. I don't think that the French would have a problem with their leader wearing a Cartier. Definitely has to be a Santos, medium-sized mechanical with no date. If there's one country that can get away with luxury, it has to be France. Could you sneak in a Jaeger Polaris or a Master Control or even a Reverso? Absolutely. Jaeger has a French connection. If you don't want your French leader wearing those expensive Cartiers or JLCs, I think Bell & Ross can do the trick. Personally, I've really tried to dislike the BR-X5 because it's another integrated steel bracelet sports watch with a Royal Oaky Nautilus vibe, but the fact is, it's a really nice watch. It's a little bit Hublot-y at around 7,400 euros for a Solita movement, but they've upgraded on the movement more than the Hublot, having included a stronger power reserve. You get a full steel bracelet. The dial is way prettier with more detailing, and the case is far more intricate. I especially enjoy the recessed flanks, which are probably a dirt magnet, but it's still attractive. As it turns out, Macron, apart from also having the LMM01, also has a couple of Bell & Rosses in his collection. There's a couple of things I learned from this exercise. Number one, there's a totally vibrant watch scene in every country that I looked into, and I went way down the rabbit hole in terms of where my viewers come from, and even for countries like Singapore, Malaysia, and South Africa, I found local watch producers that actually made some watches that, at least when I looked at them on the internet, I think these are kind of cool watches. So there's a huge amount of variety out there. The second thing I learned is I appreciate that when you're an elected official, you can't just go out there and wear a blingy, all golded and diamond pave diamonded Nautilus. It's not going to work. Having said that, there are ways to live your passion for watches, even as a leader or as a politician, if you put some thought into it. You can go local, you can go aesthetically pleasing, and you can go for super, super interesting watches. And that's something that I think is just something applaudable, that you have these options, and it's something that we as watch enthusiasts also have as options. So what you need to think about is two things. If you were leader of your country, what watch would you wear to your inauguration? And two, what's the coolest watch in your local watch scene that you know about? Let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe. Cheers.